Welcome to another episode of the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. I'm your brother O God from Hip Hop News Uncensored, and sitting across from me is my co-host.
What up, y'all? It's your man Sam, and CEO of Viral Hip Hop News. You're in the building for a very special edition of the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. We got a special guest back in the building for round number 3. Andrew Wyatt is on the podcast, the advisor, crisis director for Dr. Bill Cosby. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you for coming on once again.
Man, thank you for having me, man. This is just such an important platform, and what you all are doing all across the globe, man, it's phenomenal how you're, telling people stories, what's happening in our community, in all the entertainment from hip hop to television to film. You're keeping people enlightened with the truth and the facts, man. And we need more platforms. And I just can't wait to see your show as a traveling show, man, doing shows from all over the place because you have been a true spirit for us, man, and getting our facts out surrounding these allegations around Mr. Cosby. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Now, the honor's all ours, and we pride ourselves in making sure that we get the truth out. No matter what type of consequences may come from it, we make sure we get the truth out. So yesterday, cousin and I doing a show, we on our way home, and we see another report about Dr. Bill Cosby. And the first thing I thought of was, damn, is this old? Like, what is this something new? Is this old? Right. What's going on? So just to give the people up to speed, former Playboy model, currently, I believe, 85 years old, is accusing Dr. Cosby of rape back in 1969. What was your thoughts, when your team's thoughts when you guys heard this allegation? Was it something that you guys expected? Was it blindsiding? Just give us your overall thoughts on.
Well, what happened, this is not a new accuser. She was one of the accusers that came out in 2014. And they were then represented by Gloria Allred. And Allred specifically said that when we had our trials and we deposed and read deposition testimony during the trials in 2017 and 2018, many of these women, well, pretty much all of them stated that Allred was not their attorney, that she was their publicist. So, we had a civil trial in LA last year with Judy Huff, who claimed that Mr. Cosby invited her to the Playboy Mansion when she was a minor, when he was shooting Uptown Saturday Night and Let's Do It Again. And we ended up with a $500,000 verdict, which we didn't get punitive damages in that civil trial. Allred was representing Ms. Huff, and if we had got punitive damages, we would have been up to $20 million. Well, Victoria Valentino showed up to that trial every day. She was there trying to be a distraction, like so many other women there. She even faked an injury and acted as if she had broke her ankle so that people could lift her up and carry her into the courtroom for the cameras for a verdict to be read. But this is a woman who has made so many, false allegations against Mr. Cosby. We knew it was looming out here, but we didn't know if it was going to happen. As you know, last year, Mr. Cosby announced that he was possibly going to go out on a tour. And when we made that announcement, they immediately, Lily Bernard, filed a civil suit in New Jersey against him, saying that he had raped her in Atlantic City in 1989. And then 5 other women came out, old accusers came out and filed a similar civil suit against him, Kaufman Astoria Inc., where they shot the Cosby Show, NBC Universal, and Warner and Carsey Inc., who owns a percentage of the show, Tom Warner and Marcia Carsey, with Mr. Cosby. And Tom Warner owns the Boston Red Sox as well. So they came out as a distraction and suing for over $600 million. So what's happening is these look back windows, guys. These states, and what's interesting, how New York, New Jersey, LA, and now it's about to be Nevada. So we're expecting another accuser to come out of Nevada in probably a week or so. And these look back windows are giving women an opportunity when the statute of limitations have ran out, that's in the Constitution to protect not only the victim, but also the person being accused. And that's why we have a Constitution. So, since they have ran out, these lawmakers now are coming forward because wanting likes and followers, and to build a brand on social media with their constituents, they're creating these look back windows, what's giving women at least a year to file a civil suit against any guy, any person. It could be 60, 70, 80, 90 years ago. As long as that person is alive, they could sue them civilly. So that's what you're seeing right now with Victoria Valentino. LA has a look back window, and it expires sometime later in the year. So she got her claim in, and they're trying to sue for millions of dollars. Now, when you look at this woman who was a Playboy playmate, and she claims this happened in 1969 when Mr. Cosby was shooting I Spy. I Spy went off the air in 1968. 1968, but no one vet any of the women. They just get to come out and make these salacious stories that, oh, he raped me, he drugged me. Now she claims she's made 10 different stories, 10 different accounts of what she said happened. I want to just read to you some of them, just for your listening audience, just so you can see what type of people we're dealing with.
Mr. Wyatt, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It seems like we're getting a little bit of static or feedback from our end. If you may, can you just log back in, and maybe we can fix that?
Let me log back in. Yeah,
okay,
let me log back in.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, what about now, guys?
Sounds good.
Okay, perfect. So basically, this is a woman who has given 10 different accounts of an accused rape at the hands of Bill Cosby. Every 6 months or 3 to 6 months, she changes the story up. First, she claims he had a bungalow in Beverly Hills. He met her at a restaurant, and she was with her friend Meg, and Meg and her were invited by Mr. Cosby back to his bungalow. She claims that Mr. Cosby was after her friend, and she threw something because he was a monster. She threw something at him and said, "No, don't get her, get me." And then he shoved his penis in her mouth and raped her. All right, that's the first thing. Then she claims that she had a biracial son who drowned. Mr. Cosby met her somewhere on a set, gave her a quaalude, told her it would be okay, invited her and her friend up to his place and his bungalow, and her friend fell asleep, and then he viciously raped her. Wow. And then threw her out and threw her in a taxi. Okay, now she said this is in 1969 when a black boy, Emmett Till, around those eras, whistled at a white woman. Just whistled at a white woman. I looked at a white woman, didn't even whistle, and he was lynched. Now you mean to tell me this black man who was going around raping white women, who was on Nixon's enemies list, number 128, and all his shows were being canceled because he refused to perform at the White House for Nixon, being watched by the FBI. They had a dossier on him. He was raping and drugging white women. This same woman has even made accounts. Now, if you're truly about victims, you claim that you were raped in high school 3 times in the bathroom. You claim that you was raped at a dinner party. She claims that she was at a respectable friend's dinner party, and she went in the bathroom, and a guy came behind her and raped her. You have all these different accounts of you being raped throughout your life, but why aren't you going after these people?
Right.
I'm just saying we have all of the evidence right here. Why aren't you going? You claim, okay, well, son, hey, I was staying at a friend, Chocolate Bunny, Francesca Emerson's home, contacted Bill Cosby, who she knew from the Playboy Club, states that Emerson knew Bill Cosby. He invited them out, and Bill Cosby raped me then when he invited me to his bungalow. Well, you don't claim Mr. Cosby to raped you on so many different occasions, but you never reported it. And all of these people who are your girlfriends, where are they now? And they're still alive, but none of these people are coming forward to say it happened, or I watched Bill Cosby rape her or drug her. And this is where the public, man, has to be smart and listen and pay attention. The media puts it out so fast, so you don't pay attention to what they're saying, and we don't vet their stories.
Right. So I know you kind of explained it a little bit, but how are these type of cases even won in court? You know, where there's really no evidence. Like, it's just
look at the one last year, man, in California. The case should have been thrown out.
Right.
The lady on the witness stand in the 11th hour, she changed her entire testimony, saying that it didn't happen on this date where Bill Cosby invited me to the Playboy Mansion and he pulled out his penis and made me jack him off. It didn't happen then. It happened 3 months prior. Well, the case should have been thrown out. But what's happening here is that you get these jurors, like in LA, all of these jurors said that they could be unbiased. Well, they say that just to get on high profile trials now. But they already have, because Mr. Cosby has been vilified so heavily in the media, their minds are already made up. So the judges' minds are already made up, because at the end of the day, if I get a Bill Cosby trial in my courtroom, that brings me a significant amount of attention.
Yeah.
And my political aspirations keep going. These cases should be thrown out, but they're not going to throw them out because, okay, think about it. We've had Kevin Spacey, we had Matt Lauer, we've had Charlie Rose, Les Moonves on NBC. All of these white men have been accused of rape and all of these things with women, but we don't see people going after them because this thing and people must pay close attention to one thing. New Jersey, New York, Los Angeles, Nevada. Why are you only opening up look-back windows in those states? Because that's where the majority of Bill Cosby accusers reside. See, when Mr. Cosby, the problem that they have, he still owns the plantation. When you still own all of your homes and you still have your art collection, you still have, your wealth, we didn't get anything. So how dare him continue to live life and we didn't get anything? So these look back windows are very detrimental because it's bigger than Bill Cosby. It's the look back window that comes after the rapper before he slips through the crack and becomes successful and become a multi-millionaire. Well, as long as I have these look back windows, I could implement them at any given time, then I could go after him civilly and pretty much break him, because think about the person who don't have the means and resources of a Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to talk about the media and their play in this whole situation. Now, obviously, Bill Cosby's name is iconic around the world. Everybody knows Bill Cosby, particularly in the media. And we also know that people in today's society are deemed guilty before anything is proven. So talk about the media's role in this. Why do you believe they're not vetting any of these women? Why do you feel as though as soon as an accusation comes out, they seemingly run with the narrative as if he's guilty and paint the picture as if he's guilty to kind of sway your judges, your jury, and the public to kind of automatically assume that Dr. Cosby is in fact who they say he is? Why do you think that's going on?
They started it.
Wow.
They started it. They're the funders behind it. Malcolm X said this. Malcolm X said, the media is the most powerful entity in the world. They have the ability to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent, and that's power. When you have an entity like a media entity who's looking at a Bill Cosby and said, hold up. This is a guy who has a new television show possibly coming back out. Well, it was coming back out in 2015. This is a guy who is coined and phrased as America's dad. We cannot let white kids and all kids around the world look at a black man and call him America's dad and tell their white fathers, why don't you be like Bill Cosby? We can't have a whole new generation of young black, white people of color, their children, watching the Cosby Show as if they watch Sanford and Son and the Jeffersons and say, he lives on forever. And this is the type of family structure that I want when I grew up. We can't have a show still running like a different world of cartoons like Fat Albert and Little Bill that educate our community, our children on how you don't have to have your pants sagging. You don't have to be disrespectful to your elders. You know, you can go get an education, maybe not a 4-year college, but educate yourself and become an entrepreneur and invest back into your community. The media are the funders behind this witch hunt that we're seeing. They're the ones that determine who they're going to vilify and demonize every day. They did it to Michael Jackson, and they're still doing it to Michael Jackson in his death.
Yeah.
Barry Gordy told a good friend of mine, Tom Mesereau, Michael Jackson attorney, who tried the 2018 trial. He told Barry Gordy said they had already with Michael, the media had already went into that prison and looked at the cell that he was going to be residing in.
Dang.
They had already done stories on where's Michael going to be living? Who's going to be his cellie?
Wow.
They did stories on that because they had already done enough damage to say we can get this conviction. Barry Gordy said that Michael Jackson cost the media, because he was found not guilty, he cost them $1 billion+ in advertisement. Think about it, advertisement.
Yeah.
Every time a Bill Cosby allegation comes out, do me a favor. I worked in the news business for 12 years for ABC and Fox before I started my firm in 2007. I sold all of their shows.
Okay.
So what we would tell you have 4 rating months out of the year. You have February, May, July, and November. Now, July, those are sweet months. July is a rerun month. That's why you see rerun shows in July. If you pay attention to your media entities in February, May, and November, that's when they make millions of dollars. Millions. That's when you have your new shows coming out. When your new shows is coming out, that's when you increase your ratings. If you look at your news cycle, they hit the first 15 minutes, they hit with hard hitting news. Because as long as they hold you for the first 15 minutes, they already get the Nielsen numbers where they need to be. So once you got the Nielsen numbers what they need to be, you can say, okay, prime time show, I'm selling it at $800 a spot. So a cost per point at $800 times a 10.5 ratings is how much you're going to pay for that show. Okay. I sold American Idol. I sold NASCAR. I sold the NFL. I sold all of those shows for those networks. Birmingham, we were the #1 American Idol show. And all of the American Idol shows, I got Ruben Studdard on American Idol. Because I got Ruben on American Idol, I did a party, raised the money for him so he could go try out, him and his brother Big Stud. Okay, that's why they made sure on American Idol that it was somebody from Alabama always on Idol. Because they made millions on just that show coming out of Birmingham. They made $20 million just off of Birmingham. That's not counting every city that they made the money off of. So, okay, you bring a Bill Cosby story up. This is the #1 pitch man in the history of television. Coca-Cola, Jello, IBM, Xerox. The #1 pitch man in the history of America. So if I mention Bill Cosby's name, think about how quickly it gets picked up. it's flooded all over the world as soon as his name comes out, whether it's negative or positive,
Right.
because he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
He's the get. He's the big get. And when you have that, if you take the time every time they run a story, and they like yesterday when it broke with Bill Cosby, look how many commercials are just in that segment alone.
Mm.
Wow.
It's money driven, and what makes it so beneficial for me to be in this space today,
Mhm.
and I'm very thankful that I'm in this space today, is because I started out in production in the business. I worked my way up to news, executive producer, and then I worked my way over to sales. I watched, and they taught me how to set people up, our own people, and get scandalous stories on them.
Wow.
That's what they would teach us. We would come into a newsroom meeting. What do you have on the mayor? What do you have on the governor? Especially if they're black.
Yeah.
All right, then we get an unmarked car to follow them around, and we generate dirt. Well, if we don't find any dirt, you make some up.
Whew.
So it's a dangerous entity, and that's why, your show is so important. And I was on the phone. You had her on your show with Vicky Dillard
Yeah.
2 days ago.
Right.
And I told Miss Dillard, I said, the March on Washington, we didn't rely on the March on Washington. We didn't rely on white media to be present. They had to be present because we showed up.
Mm-hmm.
We have these platforms now. All we need to do is show up.
Yeah.
We just got to show up and be there in the courtroom and have a presence.
Right.
Hip Hop Uncensored, they can't ignore you if you're there, because you're a part of their entity. And when they see if a Bill Cosby walk by, and that's why I didn't know you guys, man, because Tom Joyner didn't show up in 2017 and 2018. Steve Harvey didn't show up. They didn't bring their shows out. Roland Martin didn't come to the trial 2018, but you're for Black America.
Mm.
Because their sponsors told them, show up and tell his story, and you won't make a dime.
Mm.
Follow the money, and you follow the allegations around Bill Cosby.
Right. Now, how does Dr. Cosby, feel about all these accusations? How does he take this?
Look, man, I just hung up with him and Mrs. Cosby talking about your show.
Okay.
And Mrs. Cosby just said, go ahead. She said, strong brothers. She said, Mr. Wyatt, that's why we funded the Black Panther Party.
Mm.
She said, when we would funnel the money to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to feed the families of the Black Panther Party.
Wow.
Because we believed in the messaging. We believed what they were trying to do to build up the community. She said, that's why my husband wanted to buy NBC and the Cleveland Browns at the same time, because he was drafted to play pro ball. He was drafted to play pro ball with the Cleveland Browns, and Louis Gossett Jr. was drafted to play with the New York Knicks. But Mr. Cosby said, well, hey, man, I would be making $10,000 more on a teacher salary to get my body broken up. I'll go this route.
Right.
And he went into the entertainment route. But that's why he wanted to buy NBC, to tell our stories.
Right.
And she said, I wish this Hip Hop Uncensored show was at the trial, because Billy would have been able to stop by and just sit down with them and look at mainstream media with his blindness and say, look, what you guys tried to stop me from buying NBC, this is NBC right over here. Hip Hop Uncensored is the Black NBC.
Mm. Wow.
Hip Hop Uncensored is the Black ABC.
Yeah.
That's who Hip Hop Uncensored is. And that's why I don't seek those type of shows, man, to go on. I turn a lot of those shows down. And what I said to Sister Vicky, I said, imagine, I came up with this idea last year after I did your show, because, man, being in your studio, the energy was just so beautiful, and just the energy of what you guys are fighting for and what you're trying to do, and you're all across the board trying to, tell our stories, and you're talking about these rappers who are being unfairly targeted by the system. And you guys know what they do.
Yeah.
Jay-Z talks about he sold cocaine. You let him slip through the cracks, but you can't let these slip through the cracks. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
And because America ain't never cared about us bringing drugs into our own community, like they've never cared about Black women.
Right.
America has only cared about one thing, and that's greed.
Mm.
That's money.
Right.
And so here we are. And I said to Vicky last year after doing your show, I said, and I called Tariq Nasheed. I said, man, why don't y'all get together, man? And I said, if they could do a simulcast at the dog track, and Black people bring their paychecks to bet on dogs that are not even there, and horses, why can't we come together and do a simulcast?
Yeah.
Facts.
Agreed. I want to go here with it, because I've been thinking about this a lot, and I looked your name up on YouTube just to see who's ever interviewed you, and a lot of the stuff, coincidentally enough, is us, right? Tariq Nasheed, They're Dangerous, Ms. Dillard. Salute to everyone who has, but I don't see the Breakfast Clubs. I don't see the Hot 97s. I don't see the Gillian Wallows. I don't see.
Let me tell you why, man.
Yes, sir.
I would talk to Charlemagne all the time. Mr. Cosby would get on the phone and talk to Charlemagne. Charlemagne would never have me on.
Interesting.
Never have me on. Wallow and Gilly are not going to have me on because I mess up their sponsors.
Yeah.
Ooh, seem to lose him.
Man, that's beneficial to Wallow and Gilly.
Right.
They just got $100 million deal from Amsterdam Vodka.
Mm-hmm.
You think they're gonna have Andrew talking on about Bill Cosby? See, they use these people as front people. They give them a little change, but see what we would never know is the stipulations in the contract.
Yeah.
We don't know that. None of these people, talking to these people like Charlemagne who are text and be on the phone. Man, I'm not gonna, brother. I can't. Brother. I can't have you on.
Damn.
Ignore every text message, man. I have them right here in my phone from Charlemagne. I can pull them up. All my text messages from Charlemagne. Mr. Cosby get on the phone and talk with him and say, "Hey, man, I heard you was trying to support me. You saw my daughter on the plane. I think they was on a JetBlue flight or something." Or a Spirit flight, Aaron Cosby, and Charlemagne came up to her. He was like, "Hey, man, I just hope you all I want you to do is just talk about the facts and the truth. No special favors, man." And I'm telling you, all of these people, man, they are not who they claim to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell everybody, man, y'all people be falling for this okie doke and drinking the Kool-Aid because they see these guys sitting on a private jet. Wallow and Gilly, man, Wallow was in the same prison that Mr. Cosby was in.
Wow.
Same prison. He was in that same prison. Now, inmates call me from that prison who I have gotten attorneys to handle their cases pro bono. One guy in there now, Anthony Sutton, Benny Doo, he started the Man Up program. Wallow promised that when he got out, he was going to bring attention to them and their advocacy. Bill Cosby was in there and took the Man Up program. They have a band. He redirected their music, structured their music, and scripted a show. So when political figures came in, they would be not just entertained, but educated. And Mr. Cosby was the last act to come up and talk about men being men and going back into the community. They called me, Benny called me, Anthony Sutton. When Mr. Cosby got out, he said, "Man, Anthony says he's innocent. He didn't murder the guy. He was part of Junior Black Mafia." And he said, "Andrew, look into it. I looked into it. I called my attorney, Jimmy Beans, who represents Sean Shadi, Mike Tyson's father-in-law, who was in that same prison as well. I told him the story about Benny. He said, Andrew, do you believe in him? I said, man, it's something about this guy. He's been in there. His son has been in there for 12 years. He's been in there for 38 years.
Damn.
And I said to Jimmy Beans, who was in 3 of the Rocky movies, and he's the one that commissioned and got the Rocky statue in downtown Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Jimmy, I said, man, he said, man, look, he's also an assistant police chief at Upper Darby. He's an attorney.
Okay.
And he said, powerful guy connected. His son was one of the biggest boxing promoters in Vegas, and he committed suicide maybe 6 years ago. Mm. And Jimmy got me several attorneys, man. And right now, they have found the witness out of New York who was coerced by the district attorney, who's now deceased, to say that Benny did the murder. They called me and they said, Mr. Andrew, all the inmates get on the phone. They call me weekly. I still take their calls today. And they said, Wallow won't even return our calls. Mm. They're like, Wallow to win Hollywood on us. Everything Wallow promised us. I said, man, hold up. I said, he's all on Instagram giving these speeches and stuff. It's like, Mr. Andrew, he won't even return our call, man.
Wow.
We reach out to him, and this is no dig, but
right.
We at the end of the day, man, okay. I grew up in the projects in Bessemer, Alabama, man. 2613 Clarendon Avenue. All right, they consider Bessemer, that's where Gucci Mane grew up. Mm-hmm. They consider that the Compton of Alabama. Okay, at the end of the day, man, I came out the projects, but I go back to the projects. Now, I ain't afraid of my own people. And everything that I do, I want to uplift my people. I don't know these inmates. I didn't do the time with them. Right. But Wallow did the time.
Right.
Okay, where are you now telling Bill Cosby stories? But you can't. You know why you can't? Because, see, you're getting booked on events by Live Nation, AEG Live now. If you know you're hosting stuff now, you became Hollywood. Mm. But they're never gonna have me on, man, because it's, you said, well, $1 million worth of game. Well, $1 million worth of game, you wouldn't have it if it wasn't for Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Charlemagne, you wouldn't be where you at today if a Bill Cosby didn't pave a way.
Right.
It's the same way Dr. J and all those guys from back in the day paved the way for LeBron them to be playing ball and Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. Yep. You can't forget about the history, man.
That's a fact.
In order to move forward with anything in life, you got to know the history of the game.
Yep.
And so if I'm Wallow and Gilly, and if I'm Charlemagne and all these other entities out here, Dr. Umar Johnson, all of y'all cats out here, why aren't y'all bringing me on to talk about these allegations? You know why? Because you're now mainstream. And you want to be popular. You want access to courtside seats. You want to be on the football field. But let me tell you, man, as fast as you got that, they can take it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know what? You ain't got staying power. And what I mean when you ain't got staying power, you don't have old money. You got new money. Mm-hmm. And one thing we know about new money, the value of it ain't the same as old money.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Absolutely.
So and that's $1 million worth of game right there.
Yes, sir. For sure. So moving forward, I know you guys are going to prepare for this trial. What's next?
Well, Discovery, man. Discovery. Right. I talked to Mrs. Cosby today, and I said to Mr. Cosby, because of what 50 said, he came out. If you saw,
seen that, yeah.
and support it. And I said to Mr. Cosby, I said, man, hey, the only way I feel in my mind is going to go away if you fight back. And I said, fighting back, man, I'm asking you. I said, man, I love doing what I do, but the only way I'm going to preserve a legacy for my grandsons is I preserve your legacy.
Right.
And I said, and the only way I'm going to preserve a legacy for every Black young boy and girl in America if I preserve your legacy, because this is way bigger than you. And I want you to come out and start calling in on some of these shows, man. Gradually get out here. These guys are not going to put you in jeopardy, and they're not going to put you in a bad situation to bring up anything about the women. We know you can't talk about that right now, but they could talk about history.
Yeah.
They could have you on and talk about history. So I said, man, I think it's just time. We got all of these promoters wanting you to tour. And he said to me, he said, well, Andrew, here's my concern. He said, man, I'm blind. And if I come out there and somebody starts shooting and they raid the arena to murder me, because you don't know who's going to pay them to assassinate me. He said, I'm not fearful about my talent because I'm funny. He said, I get on the stage, and he said, ain't no comedian out here can be funnier than me.
Mm.
He said, because I tell real jokes. He said, I'm a real comedian. He said, I don't joke with people in the audience and make fun of people in the audience. I sit on that stage and I make people laugh because I'm naturally funny.
Mm-hmm.
He said, so I'm not afraid of being funny. I fear for my life. He said, I just know they'll let somebody slip a gun inside just to shoot Bill Cosby.
Wow.
He said, because somebody will be a martyr to go down in history that I took Bill Cosby's life. And I said to him, I said, Mr. Cosby, your last show I did in Cobb Energy Center in Georgia, they had put threats out that they were going to disrupt the show. They were going to do something. Man, I had a whole security team checking people IDs, checking people with wands, scanning people. They had to go through 3 security checkpoints.
There you go.
And when people walked into the arena, it was sold out. When they walked into that 3,000 seat facility, man, the Cobb Energy Center, I'm telling you, if you left the facility and we had somebody to watch you go just to the bathroom, if you left the facility, man, you were not allowed back in.
Good move, yeah.
So backstage, nobody came through. The sound crew, man, props, everything was sound equipment. We scanned everything in sound equipment. We looked in the speakers to see if you had a gun in the speakers. So at the end of the day, I told him, I said, man, you owe it not just to your family and yourself, but you owe it to America, man, for them to see real comedy and hear real comedy before it's all over.
Yeah.
And that's what Mrs. Cosby, she agreed with me today. So, that's some of the things that we're working on, man.
Okay.
That's what we're working on. And, man, I don't, he's blind, and if he ever agrees to it, you would have to record something with him, because they've never owned a computer or a cell phone, or they have no internet at the house. They have rotary dial phones still.
Wow.
Believe it or not. And so they all business with them is done through fax machine, like a fax machine where you put the roller in it. It's everything at all their homes. Look, man, she just got him direct TV. So it's those type of things, man. But I would love for him to, call in on one of these shows, man, and talk to you guys, man, and just get him back out here, because that's the goal right now. My whole thing is the gloves are off, man.
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, the gloves are off. Everything about these women, I'm going to put it out here.
Yeah.
Their background, who they are, what they're
Absolutely.
doing, how many people they slept with, every star. I'm putting it all out here, man. It's not, at the end of the day, it's not me being unprofessional. It's me just stating the truth and the facts.
Absolutely.
That's what we pride ourselves here on this platform about doing. You know, we started this podcast, and right around there is about the time the allegations started coming out on Dr. Cosby. And as much as we loved Dr. Cosby, as much as we watched his shows with our grandparents and our family, as much as we adhered and admired him, we had to pride ourselves on calling it right down the middle, making sure that we gave the true facts about not only what we were hearing, about what we were seeing. And unfortunately, mainstream only gives you one side. Only gives you one side. So when we come on here, we're not trying to disrespect anybody that was victimized ever in any situation. We just want the truth and the other side to be able to have an opportunity to explain themselves. We always have, we always will. That's why we appreciate you. Real quick, just to kind of jump off topic, I want to talk about Jonathan Majors real quick and currently what he's going through. I know you may not know that situation.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with it. It's hey man, when you think it's not going to happen to you, and you remain on the sidelines and become silent, it happens to you. And you know, a lot of people remain on the sidelines, and I was saying it back in 2017. Man, I've been very vocal on saying, look, if you guys allow this to happen to Bill Cosby, now he was a litmus test. And now Jonathan Majors, you know, everybody's dropping you. Everybody's walking away. You've been vilified. And at his age, he hasn't accumulated anything.
Right.
So what's the chances and likelihood of us ever seeing a Jonathan Majors project ever again? Probably not.
Wow.
Because whomever you pissed off, one of the most dangerous words for Black people is no. In slavery, every time the slave said no, he got lynched or burned. Whenever we say no to something we don't agree with what they're doing, they take whatever our livelihood is at that time away. However, if you say no when you see it happening to someone else, then it might not ever get to you. And when you sit on the sidelines and you don't say, hey, I see what they're doing to this guy on here, let's speak out. You know, will America ever let LeBron James in his old age leave this earth as King James? I don't know. Will they ever let Obama leave this earth as the first president of the United States to be unscathed and leave the White House unscathed? It never happened. He's the first to ever do that. Will they let Michael Jordan leave this earth as Your Highness and heir? Probably not, because they said we're not going to let Bill Cosby leave as America's dad. They create these brands and they put the halo over our head. But then when their children is no different than when you see the melting pot of kids at the playground and their little legs are running around, man, and they're just having fun. But when they get to the age of 10, 11, and 12, and they start liking each other, and they say, that's my boyfriend, that's my girlfriend, check yes, check no on the box, then you see the separation. Then y'all can't play together anymore because we don't want the melting pot to mix. And that's what these halos that they put over our iconic figures' head, whether it's in sports, you know, politics, entertainment, television, film, the halo, they realize like, okay, now I spent $1 billion to put it on their head. Now I'm going to spend $1 trillion to tear it down and still make money.
Wow. I was actually telling him, I was like, you know what, man, Jay-Z, he seemed like he's been unscathed. Like at some point in time, I feel like they're going to try to take him down, man. But what he was able to accomplish, how do you feel about him as well, Jay-Z?
Well, Jay-Z is an iconic figure. Right. And right now, when you start owning him, you going out buying $200 and some $1 million mansions for your wife.
Yeah.
How do we let him slip through the cracks? You know, you will see the federal government won't become his friend. They're his friend now because you were close to the president of the United States. And then you decided to become friends with the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell, when you shouldn't have because of how they was treating Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
So when they see you cave to them and you give in and you denounce maybe one of your own, you can never say no to them. So it's the minute that Jay-Z says no, as long as Jay-Z continues to say yes, but the minute he say no to something that they really want, right now you own too much. You're touting yourself as a billionaire. You and your wife combined is a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but at the end of the day, when we want to teach you a lesson, we strip you of your shows because you can't tour yourself. Look at Kanye.
Yeah.
Oh, Kanye, you're a billionaire, but we strip you of everything, and we have the ability. Adidas had the ability to go into your bank account and take $78 million.
Crazy.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Think about it. This is your personal bank account now. There's a such thing as called hacking somebody's account.
Right.
Yeah.
People go to jail because it's a federal offense. So you mean to tell me Adidas, who performed a federal offense, they get away with it? It's because all of these guys, man, they will build you up and build you up. But it's as Mr. Cosby, he told me this, and I never forget it. He's like, Andrew, you want wealth. You don't want to be rich. He said, because Jenny Buss is wealthy. She feeds the team. She flies the team out. When they need new clothing, she clothes the team. Those are her babies.
Mm-hmm.
However, every player on that team is rich because they could tout LeBron as the billionaire, but can he own the team? Can he fly the team from city to city to play a game and not run out of money?
Right.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, yes, sir.
The answer is no.
No. No, you can't do it. Michael Jordan is doing it.
Right.
But so are you see, and what we have to always understand, most of these people are asset rich and cash poor. See, they got the assets, but a lot of them, if you said to them right now, hey, go get me $200 billion or go get me $1 billion right now, can they touch $1 billion at that point in time? They might have to say, I got to liquidate some stuff.
Right.
To get to that billion. And what they have done is like what they did with Mr. Cosby. They try to devalue you so much that when you want to,
We seem to lose you. Oh, you're muted, sir. There you go.
Stay muted.
Oh,
when you want to sell something, they have you locked up and tied up to where nobody will buy what you're selling. It's a system, man. They have it so. I remember Mr. Cosby and Mrs. Cosby. They, with all the wealth that they have, at their old age, they started saying, well, we're going to live on a fixed income. Now, their fixed income is not our fixed income.
Right.
but he has 400 cars. Mr. Harrer would give him a special made Lamborghini wherever he would perform at Harris, or a special made Rolls Royce, or whatever color he want. He was driving a Porsche with a Ferrari engine in it or something like that. And then he had the first Shelby that Shelby gave him. He had the very first one.
Wow.
And so had all these smooth, beautiful cars, man. But whenever they might want to do something or buy a piece of artwork, they just sell a car. So you can sell some assets to get some things that you want. But in this world of scandals and allegations, man, they control the banks. We saw with Kanye, they control everything. And so what we have to do is start taking our platforms like these. And I saw it happen, man. I made millions and millions of dollars for ABC and Fox, millions selling their shows, millions. And to a point I said, well, why am I doing it for them? Let me just create the firm and the agency, and then I represent the the person who wanted to buy the commercial time, and they got to pay me. The TV station got to pay me 7.5% of what I spend with them.
There you go.
So that's the game, how it works. We could all do it, but unless you show someone shows you how to educate you on how to play the game, and that's the problem I have with what we're seeing today with Mr. Cosby. And I want to quote on what something you said, Sam. Yes, because there are women in my family. Bad things have happened to some women out here.
Yes,
we're not out here saying that women haven't faced some horrible things in their life, but I know a victim. I have female friends who have been victim of rape and abuse and everything. But at the end of the day, man, I tell people, take the time to read, man, this stuff, and read what these women have said and listen carefully. These are not victims, man. These are just women who want to victimize greed.
Good to go, man.
We definitely appreciate
it. Hey, man, thank you for everything, man. Y'all have a beautiful weekend, man. Thanks for having me on.
Nah, always. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you always picking up the phone, and the platform is always open to you. Andrew Wyatt on the Hip Hop Incentive Podcast. Thank you, bro.
Thank you, my brothers. Y'all have a good one.
All right, you too. Thank you. All right.